Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Thursday, the 7th of December, 2023. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1, the S&P ASX 200 closed down just a touch today to 7,173 points, holding on to the big gains made yesterday. The utilities and materials companies did best, while the consumer discretionary, healthcare and financials were sold off. Commonwealth Bank, National Australia Bank and ANZ were all lower, while Westpac ended up a touch. Fortescue Metals Group jumped more than 1%, while Rio also outperformed. CSL and Telstra were both down around 0.5%, while Goodman fell 1.3%, and Aristocrat Leisure dropped 1.6%. Tech leaders REA and WiseTech Global did well, while Suncorp dropped more than 2%. Also, there are a few stories in the media this afternoon about a potential merger of Woodside Energy and Santos, the two big energy giants in Australia. Probably, I'd say, the biggest merger ever of two listed ASX companies if it went ahead. Now, the stories talk about rumours. They've got plenty of outs. So, there is no deal imminent. But the fact that they're being printed suggests there is some smoke around the place. Story number 2, the states and the Commonwealth will contribute $10 billion between them to establish a new scheme to treat children with mild autism and early developmental disorders. It is following on from National Cabinet's decision on the National Disability Insurance Scheme yesterday, which focused on reserving the NDIS for those with significant and permanent disabilities. A review into the NDIS released today argues for reforms that rethink the scheme. It says we must return to the principle that NDIS eligibility is based first and foremost on functional impairment rather than medical diagnosis. The review also calls for higher standards of service and recommends measures to eradicate over-servicing and fraud. It also recommends a list of medical diagnoses that guarantees access to the NDIS be scrapped within 5 years. Under changes agreed in National Cabinet yesterday, mild autism and developmental issues should not be supported by the scheme. Story number 3, the top table at the Reserve Bank is looking more and more British, with a Treasury official, Sarah Hunter, being appointed Chief Economist and Assistant Governor at the Central Bank. Dr. Hunter is the second external appointment in the past fortnight, following the appointment of Bank of England official Andrew Hauser as Deputy Governor. He replaced Michelle Bullock, who was appointed Governor when Philip Lowe was not reappointed. The previous Chief Economist, Lucy Ellis, is now at Westpac. Dr. Hunter is originally from the UK. She's been at Treasury as head of macroeconomic conditions. Story number 4, fund manager Perpetual share price surged 7% today after the group rejected a $3 billion bid from Washington H. Soul Pattinson. Perpetual's board said the bid undervalued the company. Soul Patts, which already owns nearly 10% of Perpetual, said it wanted to break up the fund's management business. The bid came just hours after Perpetual said it was exploring a demerger of its asset management unit from its wealth and corporate trust business in an effort to unlock up to $1 billion of value. Earlier in the year, Perpetual bought fellow fund manager Pendal in a $2 billion transaction, though that deal has struggled to win friends. That business is starting to look a bit complicated. And story number 5, Elon Musk's SpaceX has commenced discussions about selling shares at a price that values the company at around $175 billion US. If the company wants to issue shares to staff, it needs to value itself. A few months ago, it was valued at $150 billion US. That's now risen. The higher value would make SpaceX one of the world's 75 biggest companies by market capitalization, on par with Nike, for example. That's according to Bloomberg. SpaceX dominates the market for commercial space launch services with its Falcon rockets. SpaceX also sends payloads to orbit for private sector customers as well as for NASA and other government agencies. SpaceX also operates its Internet from Space Starlink service, including here in Australia, anchored by a growing constellation of satellites in low Earth orbit. That's it for the afternoon report for Thursday, the 7th of December, 2023. Michael Thompson and I will be back tomorrow morning with the Friday edition of Fear and Greed Business News. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.